Welcome to the Get Trauma Informed podcast, dedicated to unraveling the complexities of trauma, its pervasive impact, and the journey towards holistic recovery and realignment. If your radiance has ever felt muted, like I and thousands of others, you're in the right place to reignite your inner light. I'm your host, Wellness Coach Liz Blanding, and this is the Get Trauma Informed podcast. And on today's episode, we have a phenomenal woman here. Oh my goodness. When I hear phenomenal, it's synonymous with you, Sherri. How are you today?
How are you doing today?
I am doing well. Let me tell y'all in for such an amazing treat today. You know, I love it when one of my guests has such amazing energy and can help us to walk through this, the Get Trauma Informed podcast. It's not just about us suffering in our silent suffering, but it's also what happens on the other side. And I think Sherri illuminates the other side, but she's going to talk to you a little bit about her trauma through pathway to trauma recovery. So let me not go too far. Let me tell you who Sherri is, other than who she is to me. She's a dear sister, a friend, oh my goodness, I can't just say how pleased I am to know you and to have you walk through this journey of life with me. We have known each other. We just talked about it for over, we're thinking, I thought it was a couple of years, but we've talked about like 17, 18 years, y'all.
Yeah.
That's big.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm like, no, it's been a long time.
She said a long time. So you all, let me tell you a little bit about this dynamite lady here. Sherri is the host, the creator of Say That Sherri podcast. Make sure you all go check her podcast out. She talks real. When I'm talking about real, I love it. I listen to her podcast and I glean bits of knowledge every time about life and about just stuff that happens, right? And she has also been in real estate for over 25 years with her amazing business partner, her husband, y'all. We're going to talk about that too. She's a licensed loan officer, and she is really all things financial. And I am so pleased for you to be here today, Sherri. Is there anything that I missed that you want to add?
Nothing. Oh, we own a tax business as well. So we're local right here. We have a storefront in Highland Park called the Tax Kings. My office is out of Southfield. So, they can hit us up that way as well. We've been doing taxes about 13 years. So I do business taxes. I do personal taxes. Like it all runs together. So
Again, all things financial.
All things financial.
And y'all, we forgot, we talking about published authors. Sherri is one of the authors in the Pathway to Trauma Recovery book. And she is one of the fantastic authors. And we're walking through the book. She is chapter number 4, My Adversities Became My Seeds of Greatness. And she's going to share that story with you as we walk through our conversation today. But as we start and we kick it off each time with, what does Get Trauma Informed mean to you, Sherri?
Well, first of all, let me just say thank you so much for having me on your podcast. It has been truly an honor. You have been such a blessing in my life ever since I met you. I love your spirit. She hardworking, y'all, too. She is a go-getter. She'd be like, I'm on to this. I'm on it. I'd be like, girl, let me follow you. Okay, let's go. She always got her in different pots, but all in a good way. So let me say that, and thank you for the awesome introduction as well. This Get Trauma recovery has been such an enormous blessing to me. It really exceeded my expectation. When I was asked to be part of this project by yours truly, Coach Liz, I didn't really know what to expect. I really didn't know how this was going to work. And we were brought up to where we don't talk about our traumas, right? We don't go over, what has happened to us, what's bothering us. We don't deal with that. So this was a little bit different for me because I was like, wait a minute, you want me to talk about something that I done been through? Like, you don't want me to just talk about the good stuff? And I think that's what people is, because we're so focused on uplifting people and pouring into people. But sometimes people need to know that you come from a place as well. And I think that is like the biggest thing I'm taking away from the trauma recovery book project period, because all the authors are amazing in this book. I mean, like, everyone has a story that has just been compelling. It's like, oh my goodness. And you look at these women and these men today, and they do not look like what they've been through. I'm telling you, they don't look like it. If you see them, you'll see, oh my God, they look like they're put together. They look like everything is working out, everything, like their life has been good from the day they came out the womb. Only if you knew that they have been through the fire. And so have I. And I just think that this is just a good healing tool. I think it's a good way to shed light on our responsibility as people, as what we go through. We don't supposed to take this trauma and let it kill us and destroy us. We're supposed to take this trauma and turn it into triumph. And how we turn it into triumph is being able to confess what has happened, acknowledge what has happened, but see that, hey, it's greater on the other side. This did not take me out the game. So I believe that this is the biggest thing that I've learned from working with this, is that we got to let our voices be heard, that your trauma is a testimony. It's not a test just for you to go through it and break you down, but it's something to build you up and build the ones around you up. Right. So that's the biggest thing I think I got from it.
Yes, you all see what I'm talking about? Man, I'm telling you, I could sit here and listen to Sherri, really have her in my ear all day. I could really listen to her all day because she gives you the real, and like she said, we were taught, we came from a family. Family said, keep your stuff in. When I started doing podcasting and talk about the trauma, my family were like, shaking in their boots, like, what are you doing? What are you talking about? Why are you telling your stuff? But this is the thing that I've learned, is that if you keep it inside, because trauma is progressive. And if you keep it inside, it festers like old rotten food. And if you don't let it out, if you don't bring it up and out, then it's going to sit there and it's going to destroy you on the inside. It really turns literally toxic in your body. So letting it up, getting it out, to Sherri's point, is a freeing experience, but it also is part of the recovery journey, if that's what you decide that you want to do, that you want to recover. And it's not easy work. It wasn't easy for me to talk about a lot of the things that happened. And when I look, being a lead author on this project, I got really excited because I knew of parts of people's stories, but to actually sit and read the pages and read their words. Sherri, when I got to your chapter, I'm telling you, I had to stop my day and I said nothing else, because I was going to just skim through it. I said, oh no, this is not a skim through. This is sit back and block everything else out, turn your phone off.
But I want to touch on what you said with the family, because that is one of the biggest things I think that hold people back from sharing their trauma, is, how is my family going to feel? How are my friends going to feel? How is everybody going to look at me, right? Because I'm out here, quote unquote, as they say, airing dirty laundry, right? But what you don't understand is, you might be airing dirty laundry to some people, but what you're doing is refreshing everything else about you. And they don't understand it's a newness that comes with sharing. And anybody that can't get with the program, and I mean anybody, I'm talking moms, dads, sisters, brothers, cousins, best friends, whomever, that's their problem and not yours.
Oh, yes.
Once you figure out that you are a vessel and we here for a purpose, God doesn't come down from heaven and bless us. He uses people to bless us. So I'm meant to be a blessing. And if I'm meant to be a blessing, that means he's going to have me experience things. He's going to have me go through stuff. He's going to have me get over circumstances and overcome things so I can be a blessing. I can't let you stop me from being the blessing that God has called me to be. It's a purpose. So once you understand that your purpose that you walk in is greater than you and it's bigger than you, then you have to drown out them naysayers. You got to drown out the people that want to sit and live in this cancer called trauma, because it's eating them. Right. And it's only because they don't want to deal with it. They don't want to deal with their part in it. They don't want to deal with the fact that they ignored it for all these years and it's eating at them. But they don't understand, if we will all just release it together, we can get to a place of healing. We can get to a place where we're not backbiting. being two-faced. We're not speaking negative on everything somebody's doing, because we can see the joy in everything we've been through. We can see the prosperity in everything we've been through. Only the enemy comes to kill, steal, and destroy, right? God said, I gave you a life with a hope and a future. I got a plan over here, right? So this is all part of the plan. So I just want to encourage anybody who looks at this and says, yeah, this is the reason why I don't speak out.
Right.
I'm going to hurt my mom's feelings. I'm going to hurt my dad's feelings. They don't want to deal with what has happened. They don't want to deal with what has went on. And I'm telling you personally, from a young lady that's currently walking through that situation right now, where I let some trauma out and my family didn't take it that well. Right. And it even put me on some non-speaking terms a little bit. And that's okay, because I understand that my purpose is greater than whatever they feeling in this situation in this time, because it's a soul, it's somebody's life or death that's attached to this testimony, that's attached to my delivery, attached to the trauma I went through. Somebody got to come out of suicide because of this. So I can't sit here and be worried about your feelings.
Oh, I got chills. I'm telling you, and I got chills, because I know that when everybody's voice somebody can relate to, and somebody that's on the brink of giving up, or somebody that's on the brink of saying this is too heavy, will hear your voice and hear your words and say, wait a minute, I can read in this book where she came from, but this is where she is right now. Oh my God. And she's still, and the thing of it is once you go through recovery, it's still a process, because you still have to implement self-care. And this is what Sherri is talking about. Self-care. It's okay for you to focus in on what's going to work and what's good for you in this moment. And it's getting it up and getting it out, right? So it's your story to tell.
It's your story to tell.
It's your story to tell. Ooh, we didn't got over to the good part, right? It's your story to tell. I love when you said this too about your husband being your business partner. Talk a little bit about that, Sherri. Give us a little bit about what that looks like.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Imagine driving down the road, enjoying a beautiful day, when suddenly a tree jumps out in front of your car. Crash! In an instant, your life is flipped upside down, both physically and psychologically. That was my reality. I'm Liz Blanding, a certified holistic wellness and trauma recovery coach. In a time when, according to the National Center for PTSD, the epidemic of trauma is on the rise, 70% of adults in the U.S. have experienced some type of traumatic event at least once in their lives. That's 223.4 million people who could benefit from support on their journey to recovery. To address this, I launched the Get Trauma Informed podcast in March 2024. Our podcast offers free information, resources, expert advice, and stories of those who have overcome trauma and shifted from surviving to thriving. The podcast has the capacity to reach hundreds of thousands of people. I believe that by partnering with the Get Trauma Informed podcast, we can provide critical support to many more people who need it. Trauma was not their fault, but recovery is their responsibility. And with your support, we can help them to achieve it. Thank you for considering the partnership opportunity. I look forward to the possibility of working together to make a significant impact on trauma recovery. Email us at info@oasiswellnessctrs.com or contact us at 616-320-0703. Now we will return to our Get Trauma Informed conversation.
It's so funny because a lot of people go, you work with your husband? They be like, every day. And I be like, yes, I work with my husband every day. And some days it is like, okay, nah, listen here. But you got to understand, we are working for the same goal. And your best friend, your business partner should be your spouse. It should be your companion. It should be your significant other, right? Because you got to think everything that we're doing is to make this household, is to make our unit function properly. We taking care of the same kids. We paying the same bills. We sleeping in the same house. You know what I mean? So you got to understand our agreement, our alignment has to walk hand in hand. We got to touch and agree, right? And when we touch and agree, we can take over. See, when we sitting in a house divided where you want to do one thing, I want to do another thing, it's harder to get stuff done. It's hard to get our prayers answered. It's hard to get the vision to come to pass. It's hard to get the plan to work. But when you can touch and agree and say, hey, we working for the same thing. I'm not competing against you. You're not competing against me. It's projects where he has to take the lead and I just got to follow. And then there's projects where I got to take the lead and he just got to follow because I may be more versed in this situation than he is. And he's more versed in the situation than I am. But at the end of the day, that's my teammate. That's my partner. You got to know when to humble yourself. You got to know when to let your spouse lead, when it's time for them to lead. And even if they make a mistake, let them make the mistake. It's okay. Whatever it is, we're going to recover from it. So it's fine. It's going to be all right.
Wow. Wow. Don't y'all just love her?
Grace for your mistakes, right? Don't beat yourself up because I gotta, I be in my feeling, I'll be like, I done messed this up, Jesus. I don't know what to do about this. And you guys, like, you got to give yourself some grace. I have you make mistakes because I got to teach you. If I don't teach you, you can't grow. So mistakes is growth, y'all. Just learn from them, right? We just don't want to keep the same cycles going. And a lot of times, if you got a partner, especially you got somebody that's honest with you and they operate with integrity, and yeah, they might tell you some stuff and they might tell you in a way you don't like it, but it's to sharpen you. So I like the fact that my husband is my business partner. I like it that he's my best friend in so many areas of my life and in whatever we do. I truly found it rewarding. Like I said, it's difficult sometimes, but you got to make sure you got to separate business and home. You can't take home arguments into the office. You can't do that. It's you got to be able to control them emotions. We're going to have to table that for right now. Because if you had a job, you couldn't show up to your job arguing with your man on the phone all day.
Ooh-wee.
So you got to come with the same mindset that this is my business, this is my company, this is my job. So when I get over here, my clients shouldn't see us arguing, my staff shouldn't see us arguing. We shouldn't, not to say we don't have disagreements, but it's not on the job, right? We got to keep it. That's for at home. That's not for the office.
That's
not securing the bag. We up here arguing in front of everybody.
That's the good. That's the good. Yes. You all have it right. And I love that you share the good, the bad, the ugly, right? The whole picture. You know what I'm saying? Like you said,
that's the only way you get people set free to me. Like I don't all this fluff talk and we always walking harmonious and hand in hand. Now some days I'll be like, bro, you testing all my Jesus. You testing all my Jesus.
I love it.
I be like,
absolutely love it.
Wait a minute. I got to go tell Camille to go sit down somewhere. I'm like, you ain't ready. You know what I'm saying? You'll be here like, let me go. I'm like, go sit down. Go sit down.
So good.
Very sad. Camille, you stuck back.
See, that is so good, y'all. We began with the end in mind. The end is all of this, right? The end is all of the things all of the things. And you all are still just getting started. You know what I'm saying? And I just absolutely love it. Let's talk a little bit about your chapter, because your chapter just totally blew me away. And like you said, being a part of the project, you came into it, with that. And I'm so happy that you had the courage to push through it, even though we all have these, our family members in the background. And what are you doing? And, I had a lot of reservations when I first started writing. This is actually my third book project. But when I first started writing, I had a whole lot of reservations. But I said, you know what? And someone whispered in my ear. That's why having positive people around us is so important. Somebody whispered in my ear, this is your story to tell. And I, that just resonated with me. Okay, my story to tell. Okay, let me go ahead and tell it. So you want to talk a little bit about your chapter?
Well, yes, my particular chapter, and it's so funny too, because one of the biggest traumatic things that I've ever been through in my life, I haven't even wrote about it. So that's gonna be something we probably have to shelf for later, right? Because I haven't
Yes.
put it in writing. I did talk about it on my podcast, but I haven't wrote it down. So I used a situation, a circumstance that happened to me when I was married for the first time. So I've been married before, y'all. And it's okay. I got married at the age of 22 years old. So I got married very young and didn't know nothing. But in my mind, at 22, I was already thinking like I'm 30. So I'm buying investment properties. I'm trying to get married. I'm trying to start a family. This was my mind at 22 years old. So I was a different type of 20-year-old, you would say. I didn't care about a whole lot of partying and this and that. I'm trying to build for a future. I wanted to live a certain type of way. So I was like, let me start to get this thing together. And the only problem is that when you don't marry somebody with the same vision, with the same goals, and with the same belief system, this is a turmoil of a situation. So I married a man who, he thought he was too cuter than most. And he thought the wedding day was just a rehearsal enactment thing. I guess I don't know because his vows didn't mean anything. He did all the things that he wanted to do. And he became abusive in the relationship because he want to run around with women. He want to go chase this and chase that. And he want to do what he want to do with very little restrictions, right? And so for a while, I put up with this. And listen, I can get into all the red flags that I seen before I said we got married. But in my mind, I'm like, we're young. He'll grow out of it. He's just being a man. It's okay. It'll be fine. You know what I'm saying? As we go into this thing, it'll be okay. That's what I told myself. Well, the more we're together, the more violent he becomes. Now, his biological father was an abusive person. And again, you got to pay attention to bloodlines because when stuff has not been cut out of a bloodline, it can show up again. And so here it is. He and I married, and we're young. We're doing things. We're moving and we're shaking out here. I got about 3 properties at the time. We done bought a primary residence, everything else, like literally. And I'm telling you, I'm 22, y'all. I'm 22 years old, and I'm making all these moves. Because I'm in real estate. I got in real estate when I was 19, so I'm around all these big real estate people, these top producers. I said, oh, this is where the money is? Oh, well, let me fall in line, right? So I'm trying to fall in line. And he was not on the same page mentally. He was not on the same page spiritually with me. So it was a lot that I was overcoming and I was opening myself up to. And it was things that I was compromising myself on just to be with him. And now he's become abusive. I'm fighting with him. We arguing. We're literally heading home one day, and this is in the book as well. We're literally heading home from one day. We were running a bar every Friday nights with a group of friends of ours, right? We called ourselves the fam, and we would throw these parties and we would host these parties. And every Friday night, we would be at a bar called Maryland's on Monroe downtown. And they didn't change the name now, y'all. So it's still there, but it's something different. I don't know. But this was 10 years ago. So we would run this bar. We would go down there and every night and everything else. And it was our job, to make the people feel welcome, party with them, everything else, because we're all hosting this event. And so he's a little too friendly, with the women, especially when he go to drinking, carrying on, he a little loose with it. So I seen an interaction that was very inappropriate with him and the young lady. And I was like, Now I didn't make a scene in the bar because mind you, I'm like, we in front of friends. We got other people here. I'm not going to do this. So I waited till I got in the car when we were on our way home. So we're headed home. I'm in the car and we going back and forth. And I'm saying, hey, you disrespecting me out here. You really, you going to just put it all in my face like this? Like, I can't believe this. So he's getting madder and madder, and he's driving, mind you. So he's getting madder and madder as he's driving. So literally, we coming up off the exit to go home. We're coming up off the 7-mile exit because at this time we stayed on Burwood in Detroit. So we're coming up off the exit off the Lodge Freeway. And literally, he gets so mad at me. Now, mind you, I'm arguing with him. I done got in the car. I'm heated. I ain't put my seatbelt on. We going back and forth. So he comes up off the freeway, and literally he's so mad. He's like, "Oh, I'll show you how much I care." And then he rammed the car into a tree. Literally. Airbags deployed. I almost went through the windshield. It wasn't nothing but the grace of God that caught me. Literally. And I'm like, oh my God. So I sat back and I'm shaking at this point. I can't say anything. I just got tears streaming down my face. And so in all in one motion, he stops, he takes the car and puts it in reverse and drives it home. Mind you, this car's smoking, leaking, everything. The car got us home. We literally pulled up in the driveway. He put it in park, turned the car off, and it went turned back on after that. So literally, it got us home. Airbags deployed, everything. I got scrapes, I got bruises. I'm sitting here going, I didn't go to the hospital because I was alive, and he done drove us home, and I'm stunned at this point. I don't have anything to say. So I'm looking like, oh my God, I got to get away from this man. This is crazy. So I end up moving out the house for a couple weeks, whatever. He beg, plead, snot, crying, want me to come back home. I come back home. When I come back home, though, I get sick. I go to the hospital. They tell me I got a stomach virus. I say, okay, no big deal. Got a stomach virus. I go see my primary care physician. A couple days later, they tell me to follow up. Come to find out I'm pregnant. The reason why this is such a big deal for me is because in my earlier years as a teenager, I had an abortion. And I remember laying on that abortion table and I'm crying. And I said, God, I need you to forgive me for this. And mind you, this wasn't even my first abortion. So this was like my third. And I was like, I can't do this no more. I had one when I was 15. I had another one. It was so, you got to understand, for me, this was like, God, I'm messing up, and I'm messing up with you. And now, mind you, my parents weren't super religious. They didn't go to church like that. By the time they went to church when I was like maybe a baby, a newborn, but by the time I was able to know what church and stuff was, they didn't go to church. I went with my nana, and she taught me a little bit. She kind of sowed some seeds. And when I got old enough to be able to drive myself to church as a teenager, I went to church on my own, because whatever it was, God had called me to him. And I had experienced him for myself when I was 14 years old. He had came and met me where I was, because I wanted to kill myself at 14. Seriously, the devil had been tormenting me for 2 years, telling me to kill myself, and nobody loved me. And it was nothing but God that saved me that day. So ever since then, I was drawn to him. So when I could drive, so I wasn't 100% all, radical for God at this point, but he and I got a relationship. So when I laid on that table, I promised God, I said, God, if you ever get me pregnant again, if you ever allow me a blessing like that ever again, I promise you I won't do this again. No matter what the circumstance is, no matter what the situation is, I'm going to have this baby. I'll have whatever baby you give me. So how y'all know when y'all tell God stuff like that, he going to call forth it. So mind you, my marriage is in turmoil. I'm with somebody that's abusive, that I'm arguing with. You know what I mean? I done left home for 2 weeks. I done came back, everything. Like this is the wrong time to be pregnant. Wrong time.
Oh,
He accusing me like, I don't know if this is my baby or not. And this, that. This is a mess. And my own family, my own parent, my dad is sitting here going, baby, this is, you should just have an abortion. This is too much to bring a baby into. And y'all, I thought about it. I can't lie and say I didn't. I thought about it. And when I thought about it, I had to tell my dad, and I had to tell everybody else. And to them, this sounded crazy. Understand, this didn't make any sense to them. They didn't understand what I meant. They were like, what is you talking about? And I looked at them and I said, I promise God that if he ever blessed me, I would never, ever do this again. I can't have an abortion. You understand what I'm saying? I can't. It's not even an option. I cannot do it. And my dad was like, what is you talking about? You said, what? And you promised God. What is you saying? I said, I can't break my promise to God. Now, granted, I know more now that I cut a covenant with God. I didn't know that back then, y'all. I just literally made him a promise. And all I know is when he tested me on my promise, I said, I got to make good of this. So I literally had to sit there and endure this man running out the house. He was running with women. I was bedridden. I was a high risk pregnancy at 25 years old, because I had suffered at that time from different illnesses and stuff like that. So the pregnancy was taking a toll on me. They had told me when I was younger, because of sickle cell, because of this, I wouldn't be able to carry probably full term anyway. So you got to understand, I got this in my mind too. So literally, like 2 months in, I had 3 months into the pregnancy, I was risking losing her. And I didn't know it was a her at the time, but I had risked losing her. And they put me on bed rest. So I literally was on bed rest the majority of my pregnancy. Okay, because this little person was trying to come early. So this man would come home, he would leave, he would go out, he would do his thing and everything else. Long story short, I had to go into the hospital because Kayla tried to come at 5 months. She tried to come at 5 months. And they said if she would have been born at that time, she would have been no bigger than my hand. So they had to give me some steroids. They were trying to make her develop a little bit faster. They took some amniotic fluids. They stuck a needle in my belly about this big because they had to go make sure she was having a reaction to the medicine. They didn't know if they was going to have to do an emergency pregnancy. This was an ordeal, y'all. And in the meantime, this man's still running wild. So my mom and my sister is like, why don't you just pack up your stuff and leave? Why don't you just go? Why are you sitting here for this? And I said, go where? I'm in no condition to move. This is not about me. I got a little person that I got to bring into this world, and I want her healthy and I want her whole, and I want her as perfect as God can make her. So I sat there and I talked to my stomach and I prayed and I gave God everything. I said, well, God, I know you know the plan, so I'm going to just trust you in all of this. And I would just talk and I would just pray, and that was all I would do. And then finally, Kayla came. She came early, but she came. She still was 6 weeks early, but she got here. She had to stay in NICU for about 2 weeks. I had to go back and forth and see her. And then finally, they let my baby come home and everything else. And he was getting ready to go out. And so I had went through his phone. Now, typically, I'm not the type of person to go through your stuff. But when I'm ready to go, I need a little evidence so you don't understand why I'm leaving. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, it's about time for us to start making our moves around here, because I done had this baby. I'm getting my weight up now, y'all. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, okay. I'm like, I can work again. I can do what I need to do. Let me start, putting some stuff in motion. So I mentioned to him about a young lady he was messing with. And I said, oh, so you about to go see whatever her name was at the time? And he says, what you say? So he gets mad because I'm confronting him about what he's going out for. And he gets upset. And like, I'm holding Kayla like this while I'm talking to him. And I say, yeah, you going out. Now, mind you, I'm not yelling. I'm not hollering. I'm just talking to him. And he literally takes his hand and he slaps me so hard. Kayla does like this. She's a newborn. And I almost dropped my baby on this floor, y'all. That was my turning point. He went out. He got back that night. I couldn't sleep. I sat there on the side of that bed with a knife in my hand, trying to figure out how I was going to cut his throat. And everything in me was going to kill him. And then the Holy Spirit says to me, but if you kill him, she loses both her parents. I said, and I can't just let anybody raise her. And I said, you right, Lord. So I had to back up. He woke up that morning. I was still sitting there with said knife in hand. And he looked at me with shock in his face and said, what are you doing? I said, I've been sitting here all night trying to figure out whether or not I should kill you. You almost made me drop my child. I said, you need to move out this house. You need to go before somebody get hurt. And he looked at me, and I don't know if it was my tone. I don't know if it was my posture. I don't know what he saw, but he said, oh, okay. And I set him up. I found him somewhere to move. I got him out the house. And from that point on, I was able to start rebuilding. So that is my story. That is something that realistically happened. And I knew when I had my daughter that things were going to have to change. But when he was bold enough to hit me to the point I could endanger her, it's not about me. It's about her. I was not going to raise that little girl to think that this is okay for a man to put his hands on you, for a man to abuse you and mistreat you. That's not a seed I was going to plant in her. That's not something I was even willing to show her. I'd rather it just be her and I than I show her somebody that's abusive, let alone it even being her biological father at that. That's not an image that I want of her, of a dad in her mind. So, and God blessed me and brought me a great replacement for her dad. So the man, she has his last name. She begged me and begged me to change her name to his name right now, which is my husband that I have. And she was like, that's not my dad. She stood up in a courtroom full of people and told a judge at like 10 years old why she wanted her name changed. It wasn't me that wanted her name changed. She bugged me for 3 years to change her name. 3 years. She changed her name on her papers at school automatically. And they were like, she told us to call her.
Oh
and
my
I was
gosh.
like, okay. And literally, for her birthday, I filed the paperwork to get her name changed. The day the court came, the court date came, we got up there and the judge asked me, why do you want to change your daughter's name? And I said, honestly, Your Honor, she wants her name changed.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Today's episode is sponsored by Oasis Wellness Center's home of Soothing Salve, an organic pain relief salve infused with over 30 natural herbs. It fights inflammation, provides pain relief, relieves stiffness, relieves dry and itchy skin, and it also improves circulation. Oasis Wellness Center's mission is dedicated to relieving pain, promoting relaxation, and restoring mobility. In order to grab your jar today, contact us at www.oasiswellnessctrs.com. Now we return to our Get Trauma Informed conversation.
And he said, she does. I said, you can ask her. And he said, oh, you don't mind if I talk to her? I said, no, I don't. He said, well, can she come up here? I said, sure. And she got up there and she told that judge to his face, this is my dad. This is who loves me. This is who take care of me. I don't even know that other man.
Wow.
And he was like, young lady, I'm going to grant what you want today. I'm going to change your name. And she said, okay. And from then on, her name was changed. So God will do it. Like it will happen.
Oh my goodness. You hit on so many points of and I know that you've helped to instill hope into so many women that may be going through a similar situation and some of the thoughts that you talked about. And I thank you for being so courageous to open up with such authenticity. You know, you talked about self-care and why self-care is important. You mentioned, you talked a little bit about, having suicidal thoughts, domestic violence. You talked about his trauma being generational trauma from abuse, but you also talked about something that we talk about in self-care in recovery is you talked about God, and I call God as well. Some people say my higher power, but whomever you identify with, but you held on to that faith And then you talked about your turning point. And your turning point was so phenomenal. Like you said, it wasn't for you, but it was for the little baby girl that you're raising. That you said, this is not what life is supposed to be about. I'm not gonna let you see this as your example of what life is supposed to be about. Sherri, I commend you so much for, I mean, you took us on that whole storytelling phenomenon, and it was, so dynamic. Man, and then when you look at today and you fast forward today and you talk about all things financial and all the things that you've been able to accomplish by stopping and putting yourself in that mode of, I need to now instill this self-care plan. I need to now instill a new road, a new mapping for myself and for my daughter. And again, I applaud you for that. And thank you for your story. Let me ask you something. How has trauma empowered and inspired you?
Trauma has it set me free, y'all. That's the biggest thing I can say, is that I see my own resilience. I see what I can get over. I see what I can overcome. And it's my reminder, right? Anytime, life start lifing, as we say, right? Things start happening, stuff starts coming about. God brings in remembrance to me. Jesus say, listen, I done brought you through this. I covered you through that. I protected you over here. And I'm like, you know what? He said, so get up off the floor. I'm going to pay it like I paid it the last time, right? I'm going to bring it to come to pass like I did. I'm going to move this mountain like I moved the last mountain, right? Mm-hmm. So I got to remember that we're not climbing mountains. We're not carving through them. We're not tunneling through them. God said we only supposed to speak to it. So I got to start speaking to my mountains. And this is what it reminds me of. When I got them trauma, I said, you know what? I spoke that thing and it turned around for me. It changed the whole situation. So I feel like your trauma is your triumph. If you allow it to be your catapult, and if you allow it to be that thing that you just, hey, this is my springboard, right? This is how I get to the next level. This is how I bounce a little bit higher. Don't let it destroy you. I feel like that is the biggest thing that my trauma has been. It's been a blessing for me, because it's been one of those things that had I not went through it, had I not seen it, I wouldn't know how to fight. I know how to fight.
Yes.
I know how to fight. There's so many people that don't know how to fight, and I know how to fight, right? I know how to fight for my happiness. I know how to fight for my peace. I know how to fight for my joy. I know how to fight for my victories. I know how to fight for my family. I know how to fight for my income. I know how to fight. So since I know how to fight, you know what I mean? I can go destroy some Goliaths out here. You know what I'm saying? I can do this. But if you don't know how to fight, this is going to be hard for you. You got to look at it and say, I'm only going through this battle because God trying to teach me how to fight. I got to know how to fight.
Let me tell y'all, let me tell you. And if you want to meet Sherri and some of the other authors, we do have a Pathway to Trauma Recovery book study and a support group. You can go on over to Oasis Wellness, CTRS.com, and look under the recovery support tab, and you can experience some of the authors in, just learning and what Sherri just said, learning how to fight. If you don't know how to fight, come on over and get the support from the positive people that can help you to get that muscle, to build that muscle, to be able to fight for yourself and to fight for your family, to fight this thing called trauma. And that's what we're here doing. We're fighting it. We're giving you resources. We're giving you tools to help you be able to move from one place to the other. Because sometimes, y'all, it gets so heavy that you need somebody else to feed you a little bit of strength, a little bit of motivation, a little bit of encouragement, and to also show you that we're not just talking a walk. When you come into the Pathway to Trauma Recovery community, you're coming into experienced or lived experience and professional guidance. So you get the best of both worlds, and we wrap our arms around you to help you to move forward. Sherri, do you have anything else that you want to leave our people with today? Because I really don't want to let you go, but we're going to grab you again. You've been so phenomenal. I am so grateful.
Anytime.
Do you have anything you'd like to say to our people?
I just want to say thank you so much, Coach Liz, for having me on your show today. It was an awesome and amazing time. I just pray that your people got something out of it. And I hope that you guys really recognize the work and the time and the effort that Coach Liz is doing, because she's trying to save you all in your mental capacity, in your emotional capacity, and your spiritual one at this time. Our seasons is changing in this world, and we see it all around us. I mean, just by the activity that's happening, that's going on, of those of us that's really paying attention, and those of us are really, really aware. It's time for us to suit up. It's time for us to come out these emotions. It's time for us to come out these feelings. It's time for us to get on a new journey, y'all, because we got souls to save. I don't know about y'all, but this isn't the end of life. I got a kingdom I'm trying to get to, and I'm not going to let nothing down here stop me from getting to my mansion in heaven, okay?
Love
So
it.
that's just how I feel. And listen, I want the eternal life. And I believe that we all can help each other get there, because this is what we're here for. And I just want y'all to understand that she's doing an amazing job. This platform that she's put together is such a safe space. It's such a great place for people to be able to build, and for you to talk to people that's like-minded, that understand where you're coming from. We're not here to judge. We're not here to bash you. We're here to build you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're build. This is what we're doing. God is all about building. Don't you see everything he did was building in the kingdom? So we are building souls. We're building people. Let us build you. Let us rebuild you. Let's take it all out and put it back together and restore it. So I love restoration projects. I love it when God puts us in a place where we can bless other people, that where we can pour into other people, and we can see that even our journey that we went through, it was not in vain, and neither is yours. So I hope y'all join Coach Liz on the recovery path. I hope y'all come over to the group and just see all the amazing work that this amazing lady has done. I'm trying to tell y'all, she is a blessing in the earth realm. She really, really is. So take advantage, guys. Come on over and join us. We'll be happy to have you. Thank y'all so much for the opportunity to just come with y'all today and just pour into y'all. I pray y'all got something out of it.
Y'all, she dropped a mic today, let me tell y'all. And also you can catch us now on WJBJ, the Soul Emporium Radio. We're on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 9 a.m., 2 p.m., and 7 p.m. And then we have a full episode on Sundays at 10 o'clock a.m. So go on over there and support one of our new sponsors, the Soul Emporium Radio, WJBJ. And we look forward to seeing you on one of our platforms and podcasts. Thank you so much for being here with us today, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye for now. It's time to buckle up. No more suffering in silence. Our Power Pack journey to recovery and realignment starts now. Remember, you are collateral damage on someone else's warpath. Trauma is not your fault. Recovery, however, is your responsibility. I'm your host, Wellness Coach Liz Blanding, and this is the Get Trauma Informed podcast.